Go ahead and get opened up to Ecclesiastes 5. Here, we'll get started in a second. Been talking a lot about how similar Solomon and Job are, how similar the writings of Ecclesiastes. So kind of before we got started, I'm just curious, can y'all spot the difference here? Which one is Solomon and which one is Job's friends? I have a couple examples of this here, but very similar. B Job's friend. Survey said. Hold on, I got him in here. Said B is Job's friends. It's actually Solomon. It's Proverbs 12:21. No ill befalls the righteous, but the wicked are filled with trouble. Yeah, one more. Spot Job's friends. What's that? A? A for which? That's right. Yep. But you can see, you almost can't tell the difference between the two of them, right? It's pretty amazing. I don't know. We tend to think of Job's friends as crying out in foolishness all the time, but even the preacher, presumably Solomon, has similar things to say to them. And we'll kind of see tonight, he says a lot of things similar to what Job had to say during his great experience or trials that he went through. So anyway, just a fun little tidbit there. Let's go ahead and open with a word of prayer, and then we'll get into the text here. Our Father in heaven, thank you for this yet another beautiful day that you blessed us with. Thank you for the time that we've been given. Thank you that we get to spend it looking at this incredible book that has been preserved for us. Teach us the wisdom that it holds. Show us truth. We pray for your divine wisdom and that you'll show it to us through your word and through our experiences in life, and that we can grow from them. You are holy, good, and we love you. Please bless this hour of study, and it's through Christ we pray. All right, so last class we left off, we kind of sped through the last 7 verses or so of chapter 5. So I want to spend just a couple minutes here, kind of wrapping up chapter 5 before we get into chapter 6. I'll go ahead and read it, and then I kind of want to start with the question from Jeremy's worksheet here, the third question. I'll kind of get into that afterward. There is a grievous evil that I have seen under the sun. Riches were kept by their owner to his hurt, and those riches were lost in a bad venture. And he is father of a son, but he has nothing in his hand. As he came from his mother's womb, he shall go again, naked as he came, and he shall take nothing for his toil that he may carry away in his hand. This also is a grievous evil. Just as he came, so shall he go. And what gain is there to him who toils for the wind? Moreover, all his days he eats in darkness, in much vexation and sickness and anger. So the question from the worksheet, what are some of the unfair things the preacher notices about riches here within these verses? Yeah, absolutely. Right. It's kind of ironic. He's always talking about a person's riches being stored up for somebody else, right, or for the ones who come after him. But in this case, he doesn't even have that. They're just completely gone. Other thoughts? Yeah, yeah, yeah. And not, it doesn't become desire for more. Sometimes it's lack of control, right? Fear of losing what you have. And there's really these three facts that he points out from the text as well, that you know wealth will never satisfy. It's going to be fleeting and uncertain, and there's always the coming consequence. The one thing you can rely on above all else is that at the end of the day you'll have nothing, because death takes everything away from you. So this section really just, he's building the case that for why wealth is vanity, and that there's so many problems with it, and the only way that it can be, I guess, responsibly enjoyed, right, is within the light of God, where it is a good thing. And that's kind of going down to, here, one note, again, we were just looking at Job. He says something very similar to Job: naked I came from my mother's womb, naked I shall return. The Lord gives, the Lord takes away. Again, so there is a lot of wisdom in what Job had to say, despite his speaking to the wind. And then the last couple of verses here: behold, what I have seen to be good and fitting is to eat and drink and find enjoyment in all the toil with which one toils under the sun, 2 days of his life that God has given him. For this is his lot. Everyone also to whom God has given wealth and possessions and power to enjoy them, and to accept his lot and rejoice in his toil. This is the gift of God. For he will not much remember the days of his life, because God keeps him occupied with joy in his heart. So again, from that question and Jeremy's questions, what are some of the reasons given as to why God gives us wealth? We just looked at why it's such a vain thing, right? And why they're so temporary, and what the brutal facts of it all are. So then that begs the question, why does God give it to us at all in the first place? Yeah, absolutely. The gift of God, right? He says that multiple times throughout these two chapters here, 5 and 6. This idea of being given of God is a phrase he uses, I think 4 times. I added up here. It is given to him of God, and I think there's really multiple aspects to this gift of God. I think if you look here, I think it's verse 19 here. It seems like there's two aspects to this gift of God. What do you notice about this gift? What are the two kind of dimensions of it? I think Tom just pointed out one, that it is being given possessions, right? Given things to enjoy in life. Yeah. Yeah. So it's multifaceted, right? It's not just given things to enjoy; it's given the power to enjoy. So what's the difference there? Is there a difference between those two? Are they different at all, or is it kind of the same thing? Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Sure. Sure. Yeah.
You did talk about some Christian chief choir, and they don't really love it for it. It's almost the game about winning. And so it's driven. They don't really get to share, enjoy that aspect of it. So I think that is a gift too.
Yeah.
This is enough. I know when to stop. I enjoy good news. That is a perspective that sometimes we lack. why we do that is the point of this group. Part of it is want to achieve and acquire it. So it's good when we have that power too.
Yeah, it's the power to fight back against that, right? It's really, I think, yeah, go ahead, Maria. Yeah, so it's contentment in that knowing that you work for what you give them. Yeah, and that goes back to earlier in this chapter where we talked about sweet is the sleep of the laborer, right? But the stomach of the rich won't let him sleep. So yeah, I think that's definitely goes along with what we're seeing here. Yeah. Yes. Right. Yeah, realize like the last verse 20 here, that God keeps him occupied with the joy in his heart. So it is joy that God's given as well, and that is worth its due thankfulness and praise. But I think really the did you have something? Absolutely.
I do appreciate it. Whatever they had, they wanted to use other people having a place where they can invite people over, do things. I love that kind of somebody who's wanting to use their blessings in a way to rejoin others, help them. So that I think that's one of the finest ways that we can acquire things, people are ready to share. Rather than just kind of miserly having, I'm going to have all these joy sharing.
Yeah, the power to enjoy. Yeah, absolutely. And I think the reason that he hones in on that is that it's power and given wealth and possessions and power to enjoy them. He's about to switch gears completely and turn to when you're given wealth and possessions, but not given the power to enjoy them. And or simply maybe, as Dad's pointing out, that you don't have the ability or the ability to be content with what you have. That might be what not having that power looks like.
And I should say, you can have that attitude even if you're poor. You don't have to have a lot to be generous.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Excellent thoughts. Any other thoughts before we turn to chapter 6?
I want to add what Ben said, that I have read the stories that if someone will give money to someone that is leaving home, and they'll follow him, and he's giving that to other people. He shared. And fortunately, unfortunately, how you look at it, it shows sometimes you're more generous than people that have it. And it's so strange.
Yeah, wonderful. Oh, sorry, Grandma. Yeah, that's mhm. Yeah, it reminds of the parable of the talents, right? He's been wise steward with little, he'll be given much, right? Yeah. Mm. Yeah. Yeah. Paul. Mhm. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Paul definitely had a good grasp on it. I think as well of 1 Timothy 6, where he writes, "Godliness when accompanied with contentment is means great gain." Yeah, absolutely. Let's go ahead and move on to chapter 6 here. This book, this chapter kind of marks somewhat the midway section of Ecclesiastes, I think, and it's a pretty dense chapter. I'd say it's probably one of the most we would say one of the most depressing in the book. I would say, but it's kind of short here, but it's split up into three main sections here. And like we were just talking about, there is this emphasis in the second half of chapter 5 of well, I guess it starts out with how to conduct yourself before God, right? How to use the words of your mouth before God. You know, don't be rash, don't be vain with your mouth. That's kind of where we started in chapter 5, and then we moved on to kind of the issues, the challenges of dealing with wealth, and dealing with wealth in the light of it being a blessing, it being a gift of God. And so now we're going to look at how vain it is without God. I mean, you do not have the power to enjoy that, or the contentment that you need to be able to enjoy blessings. And we also these insatiable longings of what is the point of all this toil. And he's going to the speaker is going to look to a lot of questions that he can't really answer outside of the light of God. So let's go ahead and look in at the first kind of section here. That's the first 6 verses. And go ahead and read this. There is an evil that I have seen under the sun, and it lies heavy on mankind. A man to whom God gives wealth, possessions, and honor, so that he lacks nothing of all that he desires. Yet God does not give him power to enjoy them, but a stranger enjoys them. This is vanity. It is a grievous evil. If a man fathers 100 children and lives many years, so that the days of his years are many, but his soul is not satisfied with life's good things, and he also has no burial, I say that a stillborn child is better off than he. For it comes in vanity and goes in darkness, and in darkness its name is covered. Moreover, it has not seen the sun or known anything, yet it finds rest rather than he. Even though he should live 1,000 years twice over, yet enjoy no good, do not all go to the one place? So the preacher has kind of shown that the enjoyment as a gift from God is far more preferable to accumulating many possessions or attempting to be wise enough to explain every mystery or master every eventuality, searching for the wisdom of every situation, chasing the wind, as it were. And I think the first couple verses here, again, looking to his own life, a man who is given wealth and possessions and honor, and he lacks nothing, but he doesn't have the power to enjoy them. A stranger enjoys them. That's kind of the story of Solomon's life, right? How all of his wealth and the things that he stored up kind of ended up. And so the question that I'd like to focus on here, verse 2, he is given all that he desires, but not the power to enjoy them. The question, I guess, are riches capable of providing all of the man's desires here? Is this a rhetorical here? Is it just kind of a lament? What are y'all's thoughts on this? He lacks nothing of all that he desires, but clearly there's still vanity here. He says there's still vanity. Sure. Yeah, it's kind of ironic that you say that, right? Because in this scenario, he's given everything that you could possibly imagine, and he's given all the time that you can possibly imagine either. 1,000 years and twice over, but it's still no good, right? And that's kind of ironic that he poses this, like that's the way we all think, right? While my plate is not big enough for everything that I can get or wish I could get, but at the end of the day, this is vanity, verse 2, and a grievous evil. And it raises a lot of interesting questions because God's not giving him the power to do this, if that's the concept here. And this is a grievous evil. Where does this lie? There's a lot of interesting questions that brings up. It's kind of a vague gray area, I guess. Is God withholding good? Is that an evil thing? He doesn't really have the answers to any of this, it seems like. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter that he has everything. And again, like to the ancient world,
some people have contentment, some people run contentment, some people never. The way life is, we talked about this a week ago. You accomplish something, and you spend all your effort chasing that, and you not really get it. It's like most people. Go after the next thing. There are some people who love that chase so much, and that accumulation, accomplishments. They just never seem to find that. People have to learn that they have to learn. Study this book and see the extremes of somebody who's not. See the extremes of somebody who's accomplished great things and still there's no real satisfaction along with it. We can begin to understand that we need to develop that.
absolutely. And he's given kind of everything that to that time would have been a mark of great prosperity, right? He has a large family, he has 100 children, and he has a great long life. So he's set up for success in this life. But at the end of the day, it is all vanity because he can't master that. Yeah.
There in a moment, he was not content. He wanted to rise to life. He wasn't satisfied. He was content with the law. Now, at times in his life, he was. He learned to accept. And I think he recognized my devotion to God. That's where he pointed, I want to dwell in his house forever. But at the same time, I think we get distracted. We get backed up into the world. We forget about those things. We try to find satisfaction in other things that we should, simple things. So you don't have to be rich like Solomon. You have to be same kind of feeling. Maybe you can't indulge yourself to the extreme. So we all are learning to be content and live in that accept. And not try to find absolute meaning and purpose or achievement or any of these good things we do. You're bombarded with it. This is how you do it.
Curious to think what Solomon's perspective on that situation of David's lack of contentment would have been, especially with that being, his mother. So that she being Solomon's mother. So, yeah, wonderful thoughts. Any other thoughts on 1 through 6? Very succinctly well put. He's almost better off not even existing, as verse 4 says, right? Than to live that life without God. And again, this echoes again Job 3:16. Why was I not a hidden stillborn child as infants never see the light? He has very similar outcries.
age we're not going to be. So much of the general attitude around us, the culture of pulling people away from God. People, this is a lot, almost a lot of people, right? If you come from the perspective that there is no God, this is a lot of people. There is no, but people try to feel that way. Well, I'm making a better for the next person, I'm trying to give this person. Those are all water. But even a lot of the people, only because in the back of their head, there's somewhat of a belief in people. And removed from that, it's like, it is really good. Without God, there is no person.
Yeah.
It's such a powerful thing to see around all the time.
Yeah, I think that's the heart of what he's saying here, definitely. Thank you. Let's go ahead and move on to from there to the next kind of section here. All the toil of man is for his mouth, yet his appetite is not satisfied. For what advantage has the wise man over the fool? And what does the poor man have who knows how to conduct himself before the wicked? Better is the sight of the eyes than the wandering of the appetite. This also is vanity and striving. Do you agree with the speaker here that the first verse, all of the man's toil is for his mouth, but it doesn't satisfy? I think Scripture has other answers to this question. I think of Deuteronomy chapter 8, verse 3. It says, He humbled you, and what you hunger and fed you with manna, which you did not know, nor did your fathers know, that He might make you know that man does not live by bread alone, but man lives by every word that comes from the mouth of God. Quoted by Jesus to Satan during his temptation. So, as a king of Israel, Solomon should have known this. He would have been very familiar with the law, or should have been. And interesting that he makes this comment, knowing this, that man does not work just for himself.
I think he's painting with his law for us to understand the natural man who absent from God. That's the core of the satisfaction to God. Myself as well. We have plenty of food. We do our refrigerator. We don't think about it. We don't have any food. People say, Jesus is right. Fundamentally, we've got to be feeding our bodies. It's legitimate in the first time. Using energy. Basic, that's what it is. That is, when you keep living, you've got to keep it's never. We're slaves to it. We're slaves to the body. It's a frustrating thing. I can't ever achieve it. That way with the body. Slaves to the body. Don't live the way they live. For the most part, it's very emphatic. Everybody's stored, not much stored pregnant time, a little bit better. But for the most part, you work all day and you were slaves and they kind of step off. Burn everything all day, work all day, give up food. That's the mindset.
furthers the brief point that you just gave. Yeah, right there.
I don't think all of this is really healthy.
Yeah.
There's some negative thought, but I think there's mental challenge, despair that's coming. These are not, and then he'll come back to it. He lifts his eyes above his son.
Yeah.
This is not sort of this there's also frustration, I would say depression, anxiety, all of those things that we can feel. That's why I think we can identify with this. Because some of these things, even the dark,
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. The last few minutes here, let's try to wrap up this chapter and this section of Ecclesiastes. Whatever has come to be has already been made, and it is known what man is, and that he is not able to dispute with one stronger than him. The more words, the more vanity, and what is the advantage to man? For who knows what is good for man while he lives the few days of his vain life, while he passes like a shadow? For who can tell man what will be better, what will be after him under the sun? The last question from Jeremy's questions here focuses on this. What, from a purely human perspective, does anyone really have an advantage in life? Is the question here. And I think we've been really answering that question for the past few minutes here. I think this is kind of verse 12 is the culmination of all of these things he's been saying. Who knows what is good for man while he lives the few days of his vain life? In this perspective that he's been building this entire chapter, this is the conclusion. Who knows, really, is all he has to say. If you don't have God, who knows what is good? Who knows what is right or wrong? Who knows what is truth? Now, Maverick and Jeremy like to talk about capital T truth a lot, right? It's without God, there's a search for truth, right? It's almost unknowable without that perspective. So with a worldview that's devoid of guidance, there's really no such thing as good or evil, right? And I think that's kind of the conclusion that he makes here. And again, I think this is him speaking to the wind as well. He is making this final outcry before he shifts his perspective. And again, he's going to continue in this kind of this negative despair throughout the rest of the book still. But I think this question here kind of sums up where he's gotten to this point. And I think that's really what 5 and 6 serve as a unit to drive the book forward. This final question of what is good for a man? Who can tell what will be after him under the sun? He's going to strive to answer these questions as he moves forward through the book. He's about to turn more toward a discussion of wisdom and folly, and kind of working his way through his journey back to life above the sun, if you will, and culminating kind of in his confession in chapter 12. At the end of the book, but of course, the end of all this, the answer to what is good is God, and fearing Him and keeping His commandments is the goal. Go ahead.
Just reflect. Why this is bad. This is a dark place. We need to look into it. You get to the end, but I think we brought you things to turn. We can hope judgment to God. But we keep trying this idea that we have got to get God. That's what I think the utility of life is right. If we'll let ourselves go there, it will lead us to a better perspective, better contentment, better outlook on life than if you just try to keep exploring methods. You realize you're that power, your inability to achieve. I cannot live. I can't make myself live. I can't control it. There's just no way out of this.
Yeah.
Take this perspective, try to do life. This is where you're at. Out of the place. Take this perspective and try to do life.
Any other thoughts before we close out? I think we're moving on to Nathan will be teaching class on Sunday. So appreciate the opportunity to look into this and gain some experience here as well. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, dear. Oh, wow. Did you make something for me? What is it? Tell me what it is. Oh, wow.
I think the blinking light for the battery.
That is in our phone.
Oh, sorry. There batteries back here?
They are.
No? This died. No battery. Perfect. Oh, I was talking to your brother.
Our first song is going to be Step by Step. Oh God, you are my God, and I will ever praise you. Oh God, you are my God, and I will ever praise you. I will seek you in the morning, and I will learn to walk in your ways, and step by step you'll lead me, and I will follow you all of my days. Oh God, you are my God, and I will ever praise you. Oh God, you are my God, and I will ever praise you. I will seek you in the morning, and I will learn to walk in your ways, and step by step you'll lead me, and I will follow you all of my days, and I will follow you all of my days, and I will follow you all of my days, and step by step you'll lead me, and I will follow you all of my days.
If you have your New Testaments on your lap or on your phone, please turn them to John chapter 11. John chapter 11, and if you read John chapter 11, you'll find that this is the account of Jesus raising Lazarus. And you'll remember that Lazarus' sisters, Mary and Martha, they sent for Jesus to help Lazarus because he had fallen ill. But Jesus intentionally did not arrive for a couple of days, and by the time Jesus arrived, Lazarus was already dead and he was buried in a tomb. So as we read in chapter 11 and begin in verse 34, you kind of get the sense that everyone has just resigned themselves to the fact that Lazarus is dead, there's nothing can be done, and the only thing that really can be done is to comfort the mourning of Mary and Martha. And what they didn't know, though, is that Jesus had set the stage here to perform a really great and wonderful miracle. So we'll begin reading here in John chapter 11 and verse 34. And excuse me if I stumble a little. I got the fine print version of the Bible tonight. In verse 34, Jesus said, "Where have you laid him?" They said to him, "Lord, come and see." Jesus wept. So the Jews were saying, "See how he loved him." But some of them said, "Could not this man who opened the eyes of the blind have kept this man also from dying?" So Jesus, again being deeply moved within, came to the tomb. Now it was a cave, and a stone was lying against it. Jesus said, "Take away the stone." Take away the stone. Martha, the sister of the deceased, said to him, "Lord, by this time there will be a stench, for he has been dead for 4 days." Jesus said to her, "Did I not say to you that if you believe, you will see the glory of God?" So they removed the stone. Then Jesus raised his eyes and said, "Father, I thank you that you have heard me. I know that you always hear me, but because of the people standing around, I said it so that they may believe that you sent me." When he had said these things, he cried out with a loud voice, "Lazarus, come forth." The man who had died came forth, bound hand and foot with wrappings, and his face was wrapped around with a cloth. Jesus said to them, "Unbind him and let him go." So in this account, you can see that before Jesus raised Lazarus, there was something that needed to be taken out of the way. There was something that had to be done. He said, take away the stone. So a question for us tonight is, if they had not taken away that stone from the tomb, would Jesus have raised Lazarus up? And why didn't Jesus just simply remove the stone miraculously along with the bigger, huger miracle of bringing him back from the dead? Well, here's the thing. Jesus has every right to set conditions on us before he blesses us. And before he did the work of his resurrection on Lazarus, he made it conditional upon taking that stone out of the way, on doing something, on taking care of something, getting it out of the way. And this is a metaphor for us. In the same kind of way that they had to take away that stone, there are stones that can get between us and Jesus' blessings. We have to take those out of the way in the same way as they took this stone away. And that stone that they took away from Lazarus' tomb was probably very difficult to move. It was probably heavy and awkward and just awful to move. Might have taken more than one person. And it's the same way with us. If we have stones in the way of Jesus' work in our lives, those can be very heavy and very difficult to move. Some of those stones might be things like our pride, our selfishness, doubt, fear of what people will say, what they'll say about us, or what's going to happen. All those fears. There's many stones that we might have to get out of the way so that we can give Jesus a clear path to work on our hearts. Like I said, that stone was probably very hard to move, just like these stones that we might have in our lives that are impeding Jesus. But from the story, you can see that when we put forth the effort and clear those things, Jesus will make it very much worth our while. He will do great things for us. So, if you're subject to the Lord's invitation tonight, think about anything that you have that is impeding you from obeying his gospel, from doing the things that you need to do to make yourself right with God. If there's stones in the way, remove them. They may be hard, you may need help, but get them out of the way and let Jesus in. If you're subject to the invitation tonight, we beg you to come while we stand and sing this song.
This world is not my home, I'm just a passing through. My treasures are laid up somewhere beyond the blue. The angels beckon me from heaven's open door, and I can't feel at home in this world anymore. Oh Lord, you know I have no friend like you. If heaven's not my home, then Lord, what will I do? The angels beckon me from heaven's open door, and I can't feel at home in this world anymore. They're all expecting me, and that's one thing I know. My Savior pardoned me, and now I onward go. I know he'll take me through, though I am weak and poor, and I can't feel at home in this world anymore. Oh Lord, you know I have no friend like you. If heaven's not my home, then Lord, what will I do? The angels beckon me from heaven's open door, and I can't feel at home in this world anymore. Just up in glory land we'll live eternally. The saints on every hand are shouting victory. Their songs of sweetest praise drip back from heaven's shore, and I can't feel at home in this world anymore. Oh Lord, you know I have no friend like you. If heaven's not my home, then Lord, what will I do? blue. The angels beckon me from heaven's open door, and I can't feel at home in this world anymore.